Hi, everyone. Thank you for sticking around for the Q&A of All That Remains to Be Seen. My name is Dominique O'Neill, and I am a programmer at SF DocFest. For the screening, we'll be using visual descriptions to describe ourselves and where we're at. This is for low vision, visually impaired, and blind people. I am a white person, femme presenting with brown hair and bangs. I'm wearing gold rimmed glasses, and I'm in a room that is a bedroom turned office. And it is my pleasure to welcome the director of this film, Julie Bezerra Madsen.
Hello, thank you for having me here. I'm a white woman, but I'm tan, and I'm sitting in my living room. I live on a houseboat, but you cannot see that right now. You just see some plants in the background and books and stuff. And I'm wearing a blue cardigan.
I feel like we could do a whole Q&A about living on a houseboat, but thank you for being here representing the film. Thank you for bringing the film to San Francisco. Can you tell us a little bit about how you met Christina?
Yes, I met her through a job that I had at an NGO where we worked together with the people with all kinds of disabilities, cognitive and physical, and telling stories about how you can contribute to society and how you can be part of society despite disabilities. And then Christina, the main character, actually contacted me because she was a blogger at the time. And we did a short clip together. And I immediately felt like, wow, there was a really bigger story to be told with her. And also because she was very eager to tell her story. And then when she told me that she had planned to go to Iceland to show her son Silas, who was losing his sight, she wanted to show him the beauty of the world while he could still see. I was really fascinated about how would that turn out, like how would they manage when she cannot see, how would that go, that trip. And then I invited myself to come along, and luckily she said yes. So it was like, you start out little, like, let's try and shoot some things together and then we'll see how it goes. And we became very good friends during the trip. And then when we came back, she was okay with making like a whole film about them, like to follow them on a longer time.
Yeah, can you talk more about that filmmaking process? Because it is such a specific period of time where Silas is in between vision and not being able to see the world around him. Can you talk a little bit more about like what it was you knew you needed to capture in these moments and what you knew you needed to be around for?
Yeah, I was very, very eager on trying to capture how you sense the world when you cannot see. So when I was filming, I was focusing on how they see with their hands and with their ears and even with the smelling, because I found it very fascinating that Christina has her own inner visual world. And working with cinema, I think working with sound is what's most exciting, because that's what you have in cinema and not so much in TV. So it was very cool to try and portray how you sense the world with the inner images and trying to create that feeling in the audience also. But I think it is impossible to explain or to portray to someone who can see how it feels like not to be able to see. Sometimes I tried putting on some goggles that almost made my eyes, my visual ability disappear, because she made those for me to try and experience her world, and it's something very difficult to imagine. But I tried to get some glimpses into it, and then I was mostly actually focusing on the relation as the love relation between a mother and her son. So I was all the time looking on how their relationship shifts. Like in the beginning, he's sharing his emotions with her, and then he starts to close off as his sight starts to disappear, and how that frustrates her because she wants to have that togetherness as she always would like to have as a parent. So I was really focusing on the little things in their relation to tell it like a love story. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more also about working with Silas, because he's so young and probably not used to having a camera in his home or in his eye doctor visits? Can you talk about what your relationship was like with him?
Yeah, well, shooting with him was the most fun of it all, because he had some really good ideas for scenes,
Mm-hmm.
and he was it's fun to work with children because they want to play along. And if you have an idea, like let's try and make music on the window, he's up for it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So so yeah, it was really, I really enjoyed working with Silas. And he wanted very much to, his motivation for participating in the film was showing actually his classmates how cool his mother was, and his this imaginary world that he has, that he wanted to give to her. Like, for example, when they go on an excursion, he explains the world, how he sees the world, but with the fantasy of what you call, not the fantasy, but the imagination of a child.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about how that's cool to have in a film, like the perspective of a child. When he's explaining to his mother what things look like, it goes through the filter of a child. And I just let him do that when we were shooting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so sweet.
Yeah.
There's some moments in the film like that are I guess sort of challenging moments where like Christina doesn't have an aide all the time, and Silas is like, well, I'll do it. And there's that moment of her reading that online comment where somebody says something basically in favor of like eugenics, and she sits with that. Can you talk about what it's like to be around for those moments, and how in the documentary we get the sense that these things are wrong, but you don't explicitly say this is a hard time? Or can you just talk a little bit more about these like hard moments?
Yeah, well, actually, almost many of the hard moments that are just with Christina, the scenes just with her, like, for example, her
Mm-hmm.
reading the comment of someone telling her that she shouldn't have had children.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that she wanted to have in the film.
Mm-hmm.
She had her own agenda
Yeah.
for telling this story, and it was like, we actually made a list of all the things she thought was very important to have in the film, because this is something that I know some people think about it when they see the film, that she was not fit to be a parent. And so it's better to say that out loud, like to put that in the film than not to talk about it. And she thought that was very important to have a scene like that. Yeah, and so also the whole part about not having enough aid was something that was very important to her to have in the film. So there were some things that she actually decided that we should put in.
Yeah.
And actually, so she was kind of a co-director in many ways, much more than I usually did, because she's just a person who likes to be in control, and you have to cooperate with the character that you're with and see how it goes. And Silas was very good at putting boundaries, and that made me more secure also as a director, that he was really good at saying no and yes. For example, he said from the beginning that you are not allowed to film me cry. And if I cry during the shooting, you have to edit it out. And I thought in the beginning, sure, we'll see about that. Like in a couple of years, when we finished editing, he will probably be in another place. But he kept on to that, like, no one can see me cry. And it's of course because he was bullied, because he's a sensitive child. So he cried a lot in school, and he was bullied for that. So it's like no crying in the film. And it turned out to be a good thing, because I think if I had put him crying all the times that he cried in the film, that would be my natural thing to do as a director, but it would have been too much. So I kind of, looking back at it, every time Silas had an idea or said yes or no, it was the right thing. And I think it's because children, many times, they just know what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
But of course, as a director, it can be easy to step over those boundaries because it's children. but and also because I'm always eager to capture as many emotions as possible. But of course I had to respect his wishes, and it turned out to be a good thing, I think. Otherwise it'd be too much, also too tough, you know.
Yeah. Just going back to what you were saying about Christina and having certain things that she wanted in the film. Does she do like activist work? That sort of seems like, you know, she wrote that article and that has the comment.
She does. Yeah, she's a really active blogger, and she also does interviews with people who have other disabilities. And it's kind of what makes her get up in the morning, and what makes her life meaningful is helping other people to tell the story of their value. So yeah, she's very confident in that way of blogging. But it's also, it was a challenge to work with actually a blogger, because she's used to telling her story in her way. And it's not the way I tell it. And it was hard for me to explain her what cinema does compared to social media videos, because everything is so direct. And she was like, when she saw the film, like I showed her rough cuts, and she's like, are people gonna get this? You know, don't you think you should just like put a sign or something, like really just explain it? So it was because she never had a real experience actually of watching something in the cinema and liking it. For her, she needs more explanations and stuff for her to feel it. So it was a special kind of relationship in the shooting, understand, because he's really like, she wants to explain everything very explicit. And I was trying to explain her that that becomes too much when it's cinema, then people kind of don't feel anything, because then it's too explicit and then you don't think for yourself. So yeah, it was a cooperation, like I had to continue explaining that.
Yeah. Can you talk about how you incorporated her dancing trips into the film?
Yes, I mean, her dancing was something like a crazy gift for the film, you know, because it just makes her so strong, and it shows how much power she has over her life, that she decided that it's something she enjoys and she wants to do it. And it was crazy, because when I was with her, she was the one who could find her way back from the dancing venue to the hotel. I'm a little bit bad with finding my way, and she was just extremely sharp. Like, she has an inner map in her head that was crazy. So we decided very early, and she really also wanted that in the film. And that's also something, like, she found her hobby, and that's dancing. And she tries to give a hobby to her son throughout the film, but he's like reluctant. So I could also use that as like, this is what she knows she can do, even though she can't see that much. And she wishes for her son that he will, you know, overcome his fear of being left outside and join other children who can see better than him and have a hobby. Yeah.
And more on that, their relationship, just, you know, they mention the father, but he's never seen. Can you talk about that choice in the film?
Yeah, well, the father did not want to be part of the film, but I explained but he was okay with me making the film. But I explained to him that we need to tell in the audience that Silas has a father, but he's just a shy person who didn't want to be on camera. And then he was like, okay, you can talk about me and I can be on the phone, but I just really don't want to be filmed. And also, so that's something I had to respect. And in the end, it became maybe also a good thing for the film, because then I could just really focus on Christina and Silas's relationship.
Yeah. I mean, it does resonate in that way where you were saying it's like a love story. I mean, it is truly like a mother and her child, and trying to give him the best things in the world when he's able to take them in. And just prepare him for life. It's so beautiful. My last question is just, you know, when was this filmed, and what are they doing since that time, and how's Silas doing, and what's the update?
Yeah, well, we shot it. Well, let me think. We shot it like a year before Corona. I don't know the days of the the year, but I know like it was a year before Corona. Then Corona
Yeah.
came and we had a long break, and we ended up not shooting as much as we planned, because the problem
Mhm.
was like I called her up during lockdown saying like, let's shoot a scene with you and Silas going to the playground, and she was like, but I'm touching everything, dude.
Right.
It's not cool that you're asking me this, because I see with my hands and I'm not supposed to touch anything, so it's a bad idea to go out.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things that we didn't film. So and then we finished editing during Corona, and they are very happy about the film, especially because it's a sign of value of the film, especially for Christina, that it went so well on festivals, and that she was invited to festivals together with Silas to do Q&As. So I feel like that's like a stamp, that it's a quality stamp.
Yeah.
Like she did a good job. It's not just me saying it's a good film. There's also other people that really can use it, and I feel that it resonates a lot with people, with just parents in general, who wants to pass on the best in the world for their children, and always want to pass on something better than what you had, and shield your child from all the traumas that you went through your life, which is impossible. But everyone, it resonates with people, that story. So it went really well, and it had, it was seen by many people in TV. Like it got very good views. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's really great. Well, thank you so much for being here, for sharing this film with the San Francisco audience. It's such a beautiful film, and congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.